So today I'm going to be comparing the Legion 5 Pro with the Legion 7, and just to get started we'll look at the designs. So this is the Legion 5 Pro over here. As you can see, it's got a Y logo in the middle. It looks a bit more gamery than this Legion 7, which has more of a subtle design. If you look from the edges, I think that the Legion 5 Pro looks a bit thicker, and Legion 5 Pro has this sort of cheap plastic look which the Legion 7 doesn't have. So in terms of looks, I definitely say I prefer the Legion 7. Now in terms of the weight of these two devices, they're both quite heavy at 2.6 kilograms for both, and I think that they're just about manageable, but some of the competition is definitely lighter. The build quality on these two devices is excellent. They both are mostly made of metal. I'd say the Legion 5 Pro is a little worse because of the plastic at the back, and simple things like just using the trackpad just feels a little cheap on this compared to the Legion 7. So I'd give definitely the edge to the Legion 7. It feels a little more premium, but they both feel like premium devices. Now I'm just going to start by turning on both laptops. As you can see, these laptops take a while to resume from sleep, which is different to other Windows laptops that resume instantly. I think this might be due to the AMD chip that isn't as good at resuming from sleep. Now I'm just going to start by talking about the displays on the two devices. Both devices have the exact same display. It's 16 by 10, so it gives it a tall aspect ratio. This sort of minimizes the size of the bezels. And another thing is it's 500 nits, so it's a very bright display, and it's also 1600p, so the resolution of the display is actually quite sharp. And after using these displays for a while, when I go back to a 1080p display, you really do notice the increased sharpness when looking at text. And I think that's really the main benefit of this. When you're using websites and things like that, you'll notice that extra resolution. And you don't really notice that resolution when you're gaming, which is unfortunate and sort of wastes that extra GPU power. So on the left, I've compared it to a Legion Wi-Fi 40, which is a 300 nit display and only normal 16 by 9 aspect ratio. As you can see a lot more text on the websites on the Legion 5 Pro and Legion 7. And they do look slightly brighter, although this difference isn't as big as you'd expect for going up from 300 to 500 nits, and it didn't actually improve the usability of the device outdoors that much. It was slightly brighter, but it wasn't that big of a difference. So now I'm going to be comparing the audio of the two devices. I haven't put the devices at max volume, and instead of played it at a volume that I think most people would use their laptop at. And finally, for comparison, I'll be comparing to the Anker Soundcore Motion Plus speaker. And for this test, I'll run both laptops at their max volume. So overall, I'd say the audio quality on the Legion 7 is better, simply because it has more bass, and also the audio sounds cleaner. And another thing, it sounds like it has more of a surround sound feel. So overall, the Legion 7 is definitely better. However, both the Legion 5 Pro and Legion 7 aren't very good compared to the best laptop speakers on the market, like for example the XPS 15 or the MacBook Pro 16. There's no up-firing speakers on the laptop, so I guess this is part of the reason why. I think the Legion 7 really should have had better speakers, even better than it is now, just because it's the highest end gaming laptop that Lenovo sell. So yeah, that's definitely an area for improvement. So in terms of the keyboard of the two devices, I'd say that the keyboard on the Legion 5 Pro is actually surprisingly better than the Legion 7, even though obviously it's the lower end device. And I think it's because of the fact that the Legion 5 Pro has a deeper travel, and even though the Legion 7 feels a little more tactile, I found myself preferring the Legion 5 Pro because you can really get into the rhythm of typing when writing long amounts of text easier with the Legion 5 Pro. So yeah, the Legion 5 Pro is slightly better. So in terms of the trackpad of the two devices, I'd say that the Legion 7 is much better of a trackpad compared to the Legion 5 Pro. Because it's a glass trackpad, it allows your fingers to glide over it more easily. Whereas with the Legion 5 Pro, my fingers were constantly getting stuck, and it just made for a frustrating use with it. And you really want to use an external mouse or not use the trackpad at all. But with the Legion 7, it's perfectly fine using that trackpad, and I was comfortable using it. It's as good as any of the other laptops that I've used. So yeah, definitely the Legion 7 takes the win here. So as you can see here, the RGB on the Legion 7 is a lot nicer. You can actually visibly see the RGB coming through the keys, whereas on the Legion 5 Pro it's a lot dimmer, and the animations done on the Legion 5 Pro are sort of like at a low refresh rate of animations, and it just really doesn't look good. Now in terms of the ports of the two devices, both devices have a lot of ports with a USB-A or USB-C on either side of the Legion 5 Pro. With the Legion 7, these are both USB-Cs, and on the back of the laptop, the ports are the same. It has the power, Ethernet, and 3 more USB-As. A really good feature of this is it has USB-C power delivery, so you don't have to bring the massive 300 watt power brick with you all the time. And this is the size of the 300 watt power brick. It's absolutely massive and very heavy as well, so USB power delivery is definitely a good feature. So in terms of the fan noise of the two devices, the fans on the Legion 7 are able to turn off completely, although they do turn on occasionally, for example under light use. With the Legion 5 Pro, they also can turn off completely, but they will turn on more often. This only was the case after enabling an option in the Legion 7 BIOS to actually reduce the fan speed, and only then was the Legion 7 quieter than the Legion 5 Pro. So in terms of the battery life on the two devices, the battery life is identical. I was getting around 5 hours if I was web browsing with opening several tabs, switching between them. So around 5 hours with that. And when I lightened the load a bit doing Word documents, I was getting around 7 hours. And this was about medium to high brightness. I think that the battery life of the two devices isn't as impressive as some of the other AMD gaming laptops like the Zephyrus G15, which according to the battery tests do a lot better than these devices here. So one of the issues I've had with the Legion 7 is the fact that I had to uninstall the Corsair iQ software in order to achieve the same battery life that I got on the Legion 5 Pro, since it drains your battery very heavily, and so that's something I strongly recommend to you. It's nice to see webcams on both of these devices, since some gaming laptops are completely missing them. However, I do think the quality is just about okay for video calls, and it would have been nice if they could have improved this. So in terms of the gaming performance of the two devices, both devices have very similar gaming performance, And I found with both that running on balance mode sort of lowered the fan noise but kept most of the performance. So for example, the frame rate in Red Dead Redemption only went up from 53 to 55, switching from balance to performance. And then with the Legion 7, you can overclock the GPU in the BIOS to go from 55 to 57 FPS. Considering the small improvement in frame rate from increasing from 115 to 140 watts, it does raise a point if the extra weight of these two laptops is really justified in order to cool the 140 watt GPU, since you're only getting around 2 more FPS in AAA games at 1600p. The fan noise of both devices whilst gaming is very reasonable on the balance mode, and since you only get around 2 more FPS by putting it in performance mode, I'd recommend that for most people. And yeah, the fan noise is very reasonable and comfortable if you're gaming. So over here I'm just playing some Mafia Definitive Edition. This is at the highest settings and at 1600p, which is the native resolution of the display. So I guess I was a little disappointed to see stuttering in Mafia Definitive Edition. Another game that ran really badly is Watch Dogs Legion. So that's 2 games that almost felt unplayable due to the stuttering. I'm not sure what the cause is, although I feel like consoles such as the PS5 and Xbox Series X won't have these problems, and they also benefit from much faster loading times. So I guess it's a little disappointing to see this in such an expensive laptop with one of the highest end Nvidia mobile GPUs. So now I'm playing the game on battery. I load it to 1200p and low settings, and the game is actually playable at around 30 FPS. This is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In this game, the frame rate is very smooth. And another benefit of this game laptop is the ability to turn on G-Sync, although you do have to restart the laptop to run it in dedicated GPU mode, which will make the battery life quite poor. But if you do that, I noticed there was absolutely no stuttering, even though the frame rate changed quite a lot. Freesync didn't seem as good in my opinion, since the stuttering still seemed to be there. So on the keyboard deck of both of these laptops, it does actually get quite warm whilst gaming, and this could make it a little uncomfortable. So that's something to bear in mind on both of these devices. So between these two devices, there's definitely lots of similarities, with them both having the exact same performance, with the GPUs both running at the same power. The screens also are exactly the same, and the weights of the two devices are similar. However, the build quality on the Legion 7 is a bit nicer. It also has RGB, which I think looks a lot better than the RGB on the Legion 5 Pro. In fact, I recommend you just to get the white backlit keyboard on the Legion 5 Pro if you're choosing to get that. The other benefits of the Legion 7 are the nicer trackpad and the nicer speakers. The trackpad was a really big deal for me. With the Legion 5 Pro, I just felt like it was unusable, and I would only really want to use an external mouse with it. The only benefit of the Legion 5 Pro is the keyboard, which is slightly better. The Legion 7 does have a vapor chamber, although I don't really notice this difference when gaming, since they both have the exact same performance and the external temperatures of the actual laptop feel the same. So in terms of that, they both seem similar. So you'll just have to decide if the small benefits that the Legion 7 have are worth the extra premium in cost. Like and subscribe for more videos, and let me know in the comments which device you would choose out of the two. Thanks for watching.